December 25th, Christmas Day. Americans will spend over $1 trillion this year on Christmas, more than the entire GDP of Sweden, on gifts, on decorations, on food, on travel, on experiences. But in 1800, Christmas barely existed as a holiday in America. Most people worked on December 25th. Stores stayed open. It was just another day, maybe with a church service. So what happened? How did Christmas transform from a minor religious observance into the greatest commercial event in human history? This is that story. And it's not what you think. It wasn't inevitable. It wasn't natural cultural evolution. It was engineered, deliberately, by specific people who saw an opportunity and seized it. This is the story of how Christmas became a trillion-dollar holiday. Massachusetts, 1659. Christmas is illegal. If you're caught celebrating it, you'll be fined 5 shillings. The Puritan leadership considers Christmas too Catholic, too pagan, lacking biblical justification. This ban lasts until 1681, but the attitude persists for another century. Christmas remains suspect, barely celebrated, certainly not important. By the early 1800s, attitudes have softened, but Christmas is still minor. Maybe you go to church, maybe your family shares a meal, some modest gift-giving, an orange in a stocking, a handmade item, nothing elaborate. For most Americans, December 25th is just another day. Then in 1823, a poem appears in a New York newspaper, A Visit from St. Nicholas. You know it as The Night Before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The author, Clement Clark Moore, had created something new. A magical figure who flies through the air with reindeer, comes down chimneys, and leaves presents for children. Before this poem, St. Nicholas was a minor religious figure, a Catholic saint associated with giving to the poor. Moore transformed him into something secular, something commercial, a being whose entire purpose is delivering gifts. The poem becomes wildly popular. It's reprinted in newspapers and magazines across America. Children memorize it. Families read it aloud on Christmas Eve. And suddenly, Christmas has a framework, a gift giver, someone children can appeal to, someone whose job is to provide things. 20 years later, in 1843, Charles Dickens publishes A Christmas Carol. Ebenezer Scrooge, 3 ghosts, Tiny Tim. You know the story. The book sells out its first printing in days. Dickens portrays Christmas as important, a time of abundance, generosity, feasting, and gift-giving. His story is explicitly anti-commercial. Scrooge's redemption comes from caring about people, not money. But the effect is to make Christmas matter, to make it central, to make it something worth celebrating elaborately. And anything that becomes culturally important eventually becomes commercial. By the 1850s and 60s, American culture is changing. The Civil War ends. Cities grow. Industry expands. A new kind of business emerges that will transform Christmas forever. The department store. Before department stores, shopping was functional. You went to specialized shops, a butcher for meat, a dry goods store for fabric. You bought what you needed and left. Department stores changed everything. They put everything under one roof. They created elaborate displays. They made shopping an experience. And they saw Christmas as an opportunity. Macy's opens in New York in 1858. By the 1870s, they're doing something revolutionary. Christmas window displays. In 1874, Macy's fills its windows with Christmas scenes. Elaborate, theatrical, beautiful. People stop to look. Crowds gather. It's entertainment, free entertainment that happens to take place in front of a store selling products. Other department stores notice. By the 1880s and 90s, Christmas window displays become a New York tradition. Families walk through the city looking at store windows. It costs nothing, but it puts you in front of retailers, showing you products, creating desire. The displays get more elaborate every year. Moving parts, lights, entire scenes with figures and backgrounds. Some displays are so intricate they take months to construct. But the displays serve a purpose beyond entertainment. They signal that Christmas is important, that Christmas deserves attention, effort, beauty, that Christmas is worth spending on. Inside the stores, another innovation is taking hold: in-store Santas. Macy's starts this in the 1890s. Children can visit Santa, sit on his lap, tell him what they want for Christmas. It's magical for children, and it brings families into stores. Every department store immediately copies this. Soon there are Santas everywhere. Multiple Santas on different floors of the same store. Children notice, "I just saw Santa upstairs. How can he be down here too?" Store employees develop elaborate explanations. These are Santa's helpers. These are regional Santas reporting to the real one at the North Pole. The explanations become increasingly creative as children ask more questions. But it works. Visiting Santa becomes a Christmas tradition, a tradition that happens inside stores, surrounded by products. By the early 1900s, department stores dominate Christmas retail. They have window displays drawing crowds. They have in-store Santas creating experiences. They have massive inventory of gift items. But they have a problem. The Christmas shopping season is too short. In the early days, Christmas shopping might start a week or two before December 25th. Maybe 3 weeks at most. That's not enough time. You can't generate massive revenue in 3 weeks, so stores start advertising Christmas sales earlier. First 3 weeks before, then 4 weeks, then a month. But there's no clear starting point. When should Christmas shopping begin? Stores can't just arbitrarily declare a date. They need an event, a signal that tells everyone Christmas season has started. In 1924, Macy's solves this problem brilliantly. They create a parade, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Massive balloons, floats, performers, marching bands. The parade winds through New York City streets, attracting hundreds of thousands of spectators. And the parade ends at Macy's flagship store on 34th Street. Santa Claus arrives at the end of the parade, officially marking the beginning of Christmas season. This is genius. Macy's has created a massive public event, free to attend, that became a beloved tradition. And its purpose is to tell America, Christmas shopping season starts now. The parade is so successful that nearly 100 years later, it still runs. It's televised, millions watch it, and it still serves its original purpose, marking the beginning of Christmas shopping season. Through the 1920s and 30s, Christmas grows. More advertising, more products marketed as Christmas gifts, more stores decorated for the holidays. Then in 1931, something happens that will permanently shape how we see Christmas. Coca-Cola hires an artist named Haddon Sundblom to create Santa Claus for their advertisements. Before this, Santa's appearance varied wildly, sometimes thin, sometimes fat, sometimes tall, sometimes short, red clothes, green clothes, brown clothes. No consistency. Sundblom paints Santa as jolly and rotund with a white beard, wearing a bright red suit trimmed with white fur, warm, friendly, approachable. This Santa appears in Coca-Cola advertisements for the next 33 years. Same artist, same style, same character, the imagery is everywhere. Magazines, billboards, point-of-sale displays in stores. Over 3 decades, this version of Santa crowds out all others. It becomes the Santa, not because Coca-Cola invented Santa Claus, they didn't, but because they created a consistent image and promoted it relentlessly for 33 years. By the 1950s and 60s, you can't picture Santa any other way. Red suit, white fur trim, jolly, that's Santa, and he wears Coca-Cola's colors. But the 1950s brings something even more transformative: television. Radio had been influential, but television is different. Visual, intimate, in your living room every night, and television advertising during the 1950s and 60s shows American families what Christmas should look like. Happy families gathered around Christmas trees. Not small trees with a few decorations, large trees elaborately decorated, surrounded by mountains of presents. Dozens of gifts. Children's faces lighting up as they open package after package. This is the new normal. This is what a proper Christmas looks like. If your Christmas doesn't look like this, are you doing it wrong? Are you failing your family? The toy industry particularly benefits from television. Saturday morning cartoons become toy commercials. Children watch, children want, children tell their parents, and parents buy. Because saying no means disappointing your child, and the television shows you what other children are getting. Everyone else's kids have these toys. Shouldn't yours? Christmas gift-giving escalates. In the 1940s, a middle-class family might buy 3 or 4 toys for their children. By the 1960s, that number doubles or triples. By the 1980s, children in middle-class families are receiving a dozen or more gifts. The escalation isn't just toys. Adults start exchanging more gifts. Extended families exchange gifts. Office gift exchanges become common. The expectation that everyone exchanges gifts with everyone becomes entrenched. At the same time, mail-order retailers create something that drives this even further: Christmas catalogs. Sears, Montgomery Ward, and others start publishing special Christmas editions. The Christmas Wish Book. Hundreds of pages showing every toy, every appliance, every gift item imaginable. These catalogs arrive in homes every October or November. Children pore over them, circling items, dreaming, creating lists. Parents can't buy everything their child circles, but the catalogs create expectations. They show what exists, what other children are getting, what Christmas could be. The catalogs become cultural artifacts. Families keep them. Children remember them decades later. They're free advertising that customers welcome into their homes and consult repeatedly. By the 1970s, Christmas has become enormous. Retailers make 20 to 40% of their annual revenue during the Christmas season. Some retailers are profitable only during November and December, losing money the rest of the year. This creates pressure to extend the season even further. In the 1980s, Christmas decorations start appearing in stores in October. By the 1990s, September. Today, some retailers begin Christmas promotions in July. This gradual expansion has a name: Christmas creep. Retailers say customers want it, that they want to shop early, but customers adapted to what retailers created. It's a cycle. Retailers extend the season, customers adjust, retailers extend further. But extending the season isn't enough. Retailers need urgency, specific days when people feel they must shop. The day after Thanksgiving had always been busy, people had time off. The season was starting, but it wasn't special, not yet. In the 1980s and 90s, retailers start calling it Black Friday and promoting it heavily. The name is marketing genius. Black Friday supposedly refers to retailers going from in the red, losing money, to in the black, profitable, due to holiday sales. But more importantly, retailers start creating urgency around the day. Doorbuster sales, limited quantities. First come, first served, deep discounts available only on this one day. The reality is complicated. Many Black Friday deals aren't actually the year's best prices, but the perception of urgency drives behavior. People camp outside stores overnight, wake up at 4 a.m., fight over televisions and toys. The frenzy becomes news, which generates more awareness, which drives more participation next year. By the 2000s, Black Friday generates over $9 billion in a single day. But what about people who don't want to go to physical stores? In 2005, the National Retail Federation invents Cyber Monday, the Monday after Thanksgiving, promoted as the online equivalent of Black Friday. The name was literally invented by a retail industry group. It didn't exist before 2005, but within a few years it's generating more revenue than Black Friday. These aren't organic traditions. They're invented, created by retailers to drive sales, and consumers embrace them. Because they offer structure. If you know Black Friday is when you buy electronics, you don't have to constantly monitor prices. You wait for Black Friday. It simplifies shopping. By the 2010s, Christmas has reached its current form, a shopping season that starts in October or earlier, punctuated by artificial urgency events like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, driven by advertising showing idealized Christmas celebrations, sustained by cultural expectations that you must participate at certain levels or you're failing. The numbers are staggering. Today, Americans spend over $1 trillion on Christmas. That's not an exaggeration, it's a real number, about $600 billion on gifts, physical products, toys, electronics, clothing, jewelry, $200 billion on food and entertaining, holiday meals, parties, catering. $100 billion on decorations, trees, lights, ornaments, $50 to $100 billion on travel, flights, hotels, visiting family. The rest is miscellaneous. Cards, wrapping paper, experiences, charitable donations made during the season. Every sector of the economy participates. Retail depends on Christmas. So does hospitality, food service, shipping, entertainment. The entire economy has structured itself around a massive fourth-quarter surge driven by one holiday. If Americans suddenly scaled back Christmas spending, it would cause a recession. Jobs would be lost. Companies would fail. Christmas has become too big to fail. But here's what's remarkable. This happened in living memory. If you're over 70, you remember a time when Christmas was smaller, when families exchanged a few gifts, when the season started in December, not October. The escalation happened gradually enough that each generation accepted it as normal. But looking back across 50 or 100 years, the change is dramatic. Christmas in 1920 was a modest celebration. Christmas in 2020 is a trillion-dollar economic event. That transformation wasn't accidental. Specific people made specific decisions that led here. Clement Clark Moore wrote a poem about Santa Claus that created a gift-giving framework. Charles Dickens wrote a story that made Christmas seem important and abundant. Macy's created window displays that made shopping entertaining. Macy's created the Thanksgiving parade that marked the season's beginning. Macy's created in-store Santas that made stores destinations for families. Coca-Cola created a standardized Santa image that became universal. Television advertisers showed what Christmas should look like. Catalog companies gave children comprehensive views of everything they could want. Retailers extended the season backwards through the calendar. Retailers created Black Friday and Cyber Monday to generate urgency. Each decision made sense individually. Each was rational from a business perspective. But cumulatively, they transformed Christmas into something completely different than it had been. The holiday that Puritan Massachusetts banned as frivolous is now a trillion-dollar economic engine that the entire country depends on. Some people are starting to question this. Movements toward simpler celebrations. Buy nothing Christmas. Minimalism. Experiences instead of gifts. But these remain fringe. The mainstream culture still fully embraces commercial Christmas. Because here's the truth, the commercialization works because it taps into something real. Buying gifts for people you love is genuine. It's a concrete way to show you care. You thought about them. You know what they like. You valued the relationship enough to spend time and money. That's not fake. The generosity is real. The love is real. What's manufactured is the scale. The expectation that love requires spending hundreds or thousands of dollars. That's the commercial message layered over a genuine human impulse. And that's what makes it so effective and so difficult to resist. You're not fighting against pure manipulation. You're fighting against your own genuine desire to be generous, to make people happy, to express love. Commerce hijacked those genuine impulses and amplified them, made them require ever-increasing spending. The result is that we're not sure anymore where authentic celebration ends and commercial obligation begins. Is the joy of giving genuine, or are you fulfilling an expectation? Is Christmas morning magical? Or is it a performance of what Christmas is supposed to look like? These aren't easy questions, but the fact that we have to ask reveals how thoroughly Christmas has been transformed. From a minor religious observance in 1800 to a trillion-dollar economic event in 2020. That's the story, not a story of culture naturally evolving. A story of culture being deliberately changed by people who saw an opportunity and had the tools to seize it. Window displays, parades, Santa Clauses, advertising, television, catalogs, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Layer by layer, decision by decision, over 150 years, Christmas became what it is today. And what it is today is the single largest commercial event in human history. Every year, it gets a little bigger. The season starts a little earlier. The expectations rise a little higher. Because once you've built a trillion-dollar industry, it has momentum, it has interests, it has power. Christmas isn't just a holiday anymore, it's infrastructure. It's essential to the economy. It's how millions of people make their living. You can't just turn that off, even if you wanted to. The commercialization of Christmas is complete and irreversible. Not because anyone forced it, but because over time enough people made enough decisions that collectively transformed everything. That's how culture changes. Not through revolution, but through accumulation. Small changes, year after year, until one day you look back and everything is different. And you can't remember when it changed because it happened so gradually. That's the real story of how Christmas became a trillion-dollar holiday. Not evil corporations forcing people to spend. Just the slow, steady accumulation of commercial incentives, cultural adaptations, and genuine human impulses all pointing in the same direction. More spending, bigger celebrations, longer seasons, higher expectations, until Christmas became what it is today. And what it is today is $1 trillion. Every December, like clockwork,